Hey everyone, welcome back to Manny's Game Room. It's been about 2 years since our last video, so we'll do a real deep dive down here today. Lots of gameplay footage on computers and arcade machines and consoles. It's going to be really cool. I'll do some Sinden light gun zapper games, and I also want to show off this Anbernic handheld so you can hook it up to a TV to play in your game room or on the go. Stick around, it's going to be heaps of fun. I can't wait to get started. I've been gaming since the 80s. I was actually born in 1980, and the Atari is the first console I can remember where, like your parents would take you to the shops and you'd pick a game and then you'd play it hooked up to the spare TV or the main TV room until you got booted off if a footy game was on or something like that later on. But I want this video to feel really nostalgic, so I purposely haven't actually done screen captures. I've done what I used to do back in the 80s and 90s, which was borrow my parents' camera or video camera, set it up in front of the TV and film my gaming that way, and then I'd watch it back or I'd record it on a VHS. So I'm kind of doing what I used to do but in a new age way, and I don't know, it's always been fun to watch and I've always enjoyed doing that sort of thing. I've also time-stamped this video. I know that it's a long video, it's about 45 minutes. There's heaps to see. And I know not everything's going to be everyone's jam. No, not everyone's going to want to watch me do an NBA Jam tutorial. You might want to skip forward to the Super Nintendo section, or you might want to see how the Anbernic handheld works. So check out those timestamps and it'll zip you through to where you want to go. So here's how the game room looks in 2025. I've got a new computer desk set up there, one for PC gaming and one for sound production or music production. So I'll get into that a little bit later. You can see the pinball machine's gone. It started having its day, 30 years old. It was a regretful sale, but I got really good money for it, so I'm able to tip that into some new projects and take the boys overseas. I mainly use the Mac for music composition for our Dreaming Melodies project. That's doing really well on Spotify and Apple Music. We're almost at 2 million streams. We've got a video game sleep album, so check it out. Might help you sleep. These Roland Cakewalk speakers are awesome. They've got 2 channels, so they hook up to both computers. And when you're DOS gaming, it's really cool. Speaking of, let's get into some DOS games. This is E.T.'s Rugby League, and this is one of my favorite all-time games. Probably one I spent the most time on when I was younger, in my early teens. It even comes with a poster. How cool is that? So we fire it up in our new Pentium PC, and it just takes me back when I play this game. I still play it every now and then. I just love how you can flick through these teams and the graphics. Look at those logos. You can change the jersey colors. It's got all the teams there from the 92 season. You'll have to forgive my love of sports games in this video. There's going to be a few, but I like games of all types, but sports is probably my number one genre. And you can see you can chip and chase, you can do everything you can do in a rugby league game. So in 1992, this one was like mind-blowing. You can do set plays off scrums, lots of ball movement. It was really cool. It had all the player names down the bottom, who had the ball, who was defending. Home Alone is another game I really love. I know it gets a lot of hate. It's not really good on Super Nintendo, but on PC it's kind of cool. You go through the house and you have to set up all the traps. Then when the 9 o'clock comes, your job is to lead Harry and Marv through the house so they fall on the traps. You win the game by hitting Harry and Marv 10 times each. Wolfenstein 3D is awesome as well. It's the first-person shooter I can ever remember playing. And it's just still cool to go back, find all the secrets and, shoot up, with the bigger guns. And I like to try and do time trials with the first level. I tend to rip through it in under a minute. So Wolf 3D, always been a favorite. I love Street Rod. This is the first game I can remember going to a computer store, and I remember my grandfather gave me $40. This was back in mid-90s, so $40 was heaps. And I remember playing this game on a demo computer in that store. And my parents were like, oh, you should use that money you got. And I did, and I took it home and I just loved it. Just the old 50s style element, doing up your cars, road racing, and then, the more you win, the more money you get, or you can win other players' cars. And that was really cool. Prince of Persia, my brother and I played this heaps. I don't know how far we used to get, but one of those games where you should probably play the first 2 levels because it got really hard, but you never stop playing. It's got everything. It's got sword fights, and the graphics were really cool at the time. Zany Golf, I love. Another one I bought when I was in a computer store, and I said, "Hey Mum, can I have this?" And she gave it to me. And Doom 2. Just heaps of fun. Just another one. It was like Wolfenstein 3D, but next level sort of thing. I'm pretty sure I had it on a CD-ROM, and the music's really great in this game too. My Sinden light gun is one of my favorite things I've ever bought for the game room. When I first bought it, I thought, oh, what have I done? Because it was pretty convoluted to set up, and it took a lot of research to get it right. But once you get it right, it's just so good. It opens up your whole world to playing all those old retro shooters that you love. And so it hooks up to a PC. And then there's a program you can use to run the gun, and then you run the game you want. It's a little bit of playing around with it, but nothing too much. Now that I've got it going, it's pretty seamless. And Time Crisis, what can you say? I think it's just the best retro shooter going. I know they've made other versions, but this one's just so nostalgic. Point Blank is another retro shooter where I just remember playing that one in the arcade. It's probably the one I played the most. There was Mad Dog McCree where it had full motion video, but Point Blank just used to get more love because it had so much variety. It's good for kids and adults. There's so many different mini games. It just never gets old. Even my boys like playing Point Blank because it's quick and the games only last 20 seconds each, which is perfect for the kids nowadays. So as you can see, there's a white box around the gameplay, and that's what the gun uses to mathematically calculate where you're pointing. It's actually quite genius the way the guy invented it, and it's the most accurate gun I've used, including light guns and all that sort of stuff. So I'd definitely be going Sinden light gun if you want to go down the Zapper path. I also use Techno Parrot to emulate some of the higher end games. This is Transformers. I love this one. This one you used to be able to find in arcades about 10 years ago. You know, you'd sit in an Optimus Prime cabinet and you'd shoot. You can play 2 players if you get 2 Sinden guns. That's also a bit of a full-on experience to try and set that up. See, there's Optimus Prime there. But this one's so much fun. My sons and my nephew like to play this one because it's really loud. There's all the Transformers, Starscream's in it, all the Transformers are in it, Bumblebee's in it, and there's different missions you have to do. House of the Dead, I haven't played a lot, but I looked at this one and I got it going, and this is probably my favorite one to play, even almost over Time Crisis, because it's just so much fun, you know, going through the story and picking the route you want to go. You can throw grenades. And when you hit the zombies with a headshot, it's just really satisfying. So check that one out, House of the Dead. Not one I played a lot in the arcades, but I play a lot at home now. Moving on to arcade cabinets. Here's my 4-player NBA Jam by Arcade 1UP. I play this so much and it's just awesome. NBA Jam was, when it came out in the 90s, I was just totally taken back by how fun it was. Sometimes I get people around and we actually get a 4-player game going, which is so cool. Just the dunks, it's just basically what you want to see in the NBA, dunks and threes. A little bit of finesse move as well, you know, defense, big blocks. It's got everything you want in a game. It's fast paced, it's easy to pick up and play. I'm going to do a whole game of NBA Jam now. So if you want to watch, stick around because I'm going to give you some pointers. If not, feel free to use the timestamps and move on.
Tonight's matchup, Suns versus Lakers.
I decided to play NBA Jam and not Tournament Edition, and I can't remember why I did that. Tournament Edition's a bit better, it's a bit faster, Dunk's a bit more extreme. If you want to see some Tournament Edition play, I've reviewed this cabinet on another video. Anyway, I picked Phoenix. I usually pick Orlando because I like playing as Shaq, but if you want to win a game or you're playing a game where you really want to win, it's better to pick someone like Phoenix because Charles Barkley can dunk and defend, but he can also hit threes. See, like that. So down the stretch, if you want to try and Now threes, it's better to have a big guy, be a bit more versatile, but playing as Shaq's probably just more fun because his dunks are awesome and he's Shaq. See how I pushed the guy there instead of trying to block his shot? That's what you want to try and do, because timing a block like that is a bit tricky. So if you can save your turbo a little bit to give them a push as they're dunking, you have a better chance than actually blocking the shot. I like to try and use this move too here when I'm hard up for points. See, I sort of faked him out and then it gives you that little sort of baseline floater. It didn't go in there, but I'll do it again later. When I need points down the stretch, that's what I sort of try to do, those little sort of fake moves up there. You'll see them later in the game. See, there's another push. The dunks are so fun with this. See, there's, no, I thought I pulled up, I didn't, maybe later. Oh, there it is, there's that sort of floater move. Now, a bit of a spoiler alert, if you're able to hang around the whole way, this game goes down to the wire to a final shot, so worth sticking around for. So, I don't know what, and there, let's see, I'm just trying to show off that move to do, so you can see. So sort of back forward, fake him out, and then the floater. I try to also try and push the teams before they get over the halfway line. So try and save your turbo. And that's the end of the first quarter. Now NBA Jam, when they program this, they do it in a way so... Oh, there's another block. They do it in a way, they call it rubber banding, which means if you paid for a whole game, what they'll do is they'll give you an easy first quarter, and then they'll make it a lot harder in the second quarter. Or if you get up by about 10, 15 points, the computer just comes roaring back every time. They call that rubber banding to keep the game close. So equally though, if you're struggling a bit, it'll reduce the difficulty. So that's what arcade operators used to be able to do to their machines. They used to be able to control the amount of rubber banding that was in their game. You could, change the difficulty. And you can actually do that on these arcade one-ups, which is kind of cool. Head fakes are really important, so don't underestimate a good head fake. I probably don't use them enough in this game, but a head fake really opens things up. And also just swiping at the ball. Don't always have to push. That's a pretty good dunk from Marley for a non-dunker. So you don't always have to push. Just swiping at the ball if you're out of turbo can give you some pretty good results as well. Also, don't try to use my turbo until I'm over halfway. If you press turbo before you get over halfway, you've pretty much wasted halfway. So it's better to save it so you can do something explosive in or around the 3-point line. I kind of like those fancy little layups too. I never used to as a kid, but I've come to appreciate them. That was a good block from Marley. And see, so I've taken off. Jump shot passing is also a good way. See that? See how I jump shot, but I bailed out and passed to Marley. So they both came to me and that left him open. So look for those opportunities as well, because if your computer assistant gets the ball, you can actually tell him what to do. So if he's in a good spot and you want him to shoot, just press the shoot button and he'll shoot for you. Or if you want him to pass off to you. There's those sort of those swipe moves. And see, as you can see, it's pretty close. I don't know how LA are in this game because I felt like I was a bit more dominant. But anyways, there's that rubber banding sort of coming into it. So at halftime, it's 25-22. At halftime, they used to have a little bit of video there in the arcade, but probably for licensing reasons, they took it out. There's a few players missing in these games. Like they don't have Reggie Miller. I'm surprised Charles Barkley's actually in this because he's not in any other NBA game. But things like that, they're not players you're going to really miss. But, they're players from the 90s who you'd remember. If you're a 90s NBA fan, you'd probably notice. But Dominique Wilkins is there, Scottie Pippen's there, Shaq's there, Olajuwon, Drexler, Chris Mullin. And it's really cool the way they've done it because it's really layered. So, Golden State, Chris Mullin and Tim Hardaway are really good shooters and they're fast runners, but their dunking's not so good and they can't block so well. So it depends on how you want to play. Phoenix is a bit more of an all-rounder style. You know, Orlando's a bit more power for Shaq, but you've got Scott Styles there. And somehow LA is still in this game. Anyway, there's that little sort of fake move. See, it's worked again. So keep that one in mind if you ever want to play. I try not to spam it though, because see, that's a nice open pass by Marley. I try not to spam it because one, it's not as fun to just spam it, and also it doesn't work every time. Oops. That was a good block, but I accidentally chucked it full court. You can make full court shots too, which is pretty cool. They come off every so often. I've had a couple of game winners on full court shots. And there's another finesse move there, sort of in and out. And they're really hitting their threes now, the Lakers. See, Dan Marley in NBA Jam, not so much a good three-point shooter, but when the tournament edition came around, he is, because, you know, the finals came around against the Bulls and he was sinking threes. I think he made 8 3-pointers in one finals game, and, you know, the program was sort of adjusted accordingly. Tournament edition is really cool because you can change players at halftime. You know, it's got expanded rosters. And that's the end of the third quarter. So you can see it's pretty close. Most of your games in NBA Jam are probably going to come down to the wire as well, which is awesome because it just keeps it so everyone in the game. Oh, there's a backboard break. I love doing that. There's this water park called Amazons I used to go to, and they had NBA Jam, and that's where I first saw someone break the backboard with Shaq. God, I love Amazons. Anyways, there's that shot again. So as you can see, it's close game, so I'm starting to get a little bit nervous because I'm down and I need points. So I'm gonna keep taking Vladi Divac to the baseline and use that little 1-2 move. But you got to be careful because they can push you. So I'm on a bit of a roll. I haven't got on fire on this game, and I don't think I do, but being on fire is pretty cool. If you do get on fire, I usually use it to shoot threes because you're super accurate and helps you get out to a big lead. So that was a good shot. Instead of going down for the 2, I sort of faked him out and then went for the 3 and made it. So that's what I was talking about earlier. It's good to have. Oh, that's a big block. It's good to have someone like Charles Barkley because he can make threes down the stretch for you. He's really sinking him. So you would think I'd start blowing him away here, but he's always going to make that. See, that's that rubber banding. I think later on, I think he's going to shoot one in my face as well. And, you know, like in any other game, he probably wouldn't make it. There you go, right in my face. And now there's a 3. Good shot too. And so you're never out of it. That's what I love about this game. Look, there's 29 seconds in, but so much can happen in 29 seconds. So there's only 17 seconds to go. And he's made the dunk. There's 5 seconds left and it's a tied game. So I don't have time to go for a dunk, so I have to pull up. And I made it. And that's the end of the game. My best friends bought me this arcade 1-up Ninja Turtles cabinet for my 40th, and I couldn't have thought of a better present for myself. It was the best surprise ever. When I first saw this game in the arcade, I was about, I can't remember, maybe like 10 or 11, and just seeing 4 players play at the same time as all the turtles, I just was, I've never been as mind blown in a game by seeing that. And then as soon as it was my turn to play, like there was a big crowd around. Like this is back in the days when there were big crowds around arcade machines, and I remember when it was my turn to play, I couldn't wait. And just even seeing Rocksteady come up through the drill like that is just so cool. This is like nostalgia plus for me playing these games. I love the little cutscenes too. It's got a little bit of variety too, so you're not always just beating them up, like you're riding on skateboards or stuff like that. This is Turtles in Time. This one came out a couple years after. It's a little bit faster. The turtles can do a couple of extra moves. There's these sort of, it's gone from little cutscenes to little cartoon movie things in between the game. I probably like this one better, but the other one has more nostalgic value for me. So, as you can see, you can shoulder charge, you can do those thump moves where you move from side to side, you can throw them up against the screen. I think I'll do that later on. There it is. And yeah, so the bosses are really cool. See, there's backstop, and so there's skateboarding. This one's got a bit more variety. It's a bit faster, a bit more cartoony. I remember it being at the movies, and that's where I played it a heap. This is my multi-arcade machine. So best tip I can give you, if you play a machine that's got a Pandora's box in it, hook it up to an external speaker. And then you can change the volume as you need it, because different games have been programmed for different volumes. And you don't want to have to keep opening it up every time you want to play a different game. Street Fighter 2 is probably one of my favorite arcade games. So Street Fighter 2, Ninja Turtles, and NBA Jam. And really close behind that is Run and Gun, which I'm going to show you after this. I always pick someone different in Street Fighter 2 because I just like the variety of it. And Champion Edition is definitely my favorite version. Doesn't matter how many have come out since. I just love playing as the bosses. This is Run and Gun. Now, this is a really cool basketball game. If you've never played it, definitely check it out. It was in the arcades. It never really had massive crowds around it or anything like that, but it's not licensed. I think that's what went against it. But the dunks are really cool. It's just really fast paced. And you can see the view of it's different to NBA Jam. You can do heaps though. You can do, here's a double clutch. And you can do fadeaway jump shots. You can do alley-oops. The game plays fast. The goal is you have to be ahead. You can't be tied at the end of each quarter to progress in the game. So if you didn't want to continue, you had to be ahead. So you could make, last second threes. Really cool game. Check out Run and Gun. Wonder Boy I used to see everywhere. I remember it being at this tennis tournament. I played it when I was about 12. I was on this tabletop. And I remember I used to try to finish my tennis games really quick so I could come back and play Wonder Boy or watch Wonder Boy. And all the kids who weren't playing at that time, who were waiting for their game, was watching everyone play Wonder Boy in this little canteen. It was everywhere. I was at swimming pools and all that, and everywhere you went. It was a really fun game to play. I wasn't good at it as a kid, but now I'm much better at it. I don't play it for long. I usually play the first 2 levels just to get that sort of flashback, and the music's really cool. The graphics are really cartoony. The controls are really responsive. And WrestleFest is another one. I used to play at a bowling alley. Like, we'd finish our bowling game. My dad would probably give us a couple of bucks to go to the arcade just to get us out of his hair for a while. Being a father now, I can totally see that happening. It was like, it looks cool, and it's just a sort of beat 'em up. You're sort of just spamming the same moves and hoping you survive. But because of the roster alone, it's just worth playing and looking at. Sunset Riders is awesome. I played it more on Super Nintendo with my brother, but you can play it as 4-player in the arcade. It actually originated in the arcade. It's really comical. It's funny. It's satisfying to play. It's like a beat 'em up, but a shoot 'em up at the same time. So I like playing as this guy Billy with the pistol. My brother used to pick the fella with the shotgun, which was good because one game where we never actually used to fight over who was who. This is Yi Ar Kung Fu. So when you talk about what was the first game you ever remember playing as an arcade game, this is the first arcade game I ever remember playing. And this is where Street Fighter 2 sort of was born. Simpsons is another one like Turtles, where you can play 4 players at once. I used to always see it at the airport. So whenever I think of the airport, I always think of the Simpsons arcade game. This one never got ported. Like Sunset Riders and Turtles did get ported to Super Nintendo or Mega Drive, but Simpsons didn't. I don't know why, because it would have been massive. Maybe there was a licensing thing. Anyway, it's really cool. You go through Springfield, all different stages. It gets a little bit monotonous being a beat 'em up with not a lot of variety, but you can see when you've got 2 players there, you can team up and do team up moves. Like, you know, Bart and Lisa hold hands with a skipping rope and all that sort of stuff. Marge has a vacuum for the whole game, which I find a bit distracting. But yeah, cool nonetheless. Again, you probably play a couple of stages because this one doesn't have a lot of variety. It's mainly just walking around punching the whole time, whereas Turtles, you rode on skateboards or, you know, that sort of stuff. Oh, cool. Now we're into PC CD-ROM games. I don't have a heap of these to show. These are ones I just am playing lately. Red Alert 2 is my favorite real-time strategy game. It's a game I play heaps. The time just flies when you play. I do skirmish. I don't really play the missions, so you're having wars against computer enemies. I like to play as France because they've got these big long-range cannons, so you set up a bit of a defense, and then after you've held off armies, you just build an army up and go and attack them. It's really fun. ARL is another game I used to play heaps when I was younger. After ET's Rugby League, they brought this out, and I thought of it as kind of basic because you could only pass side to side, but the more I played it, the more I realized if you hold the buttons down for different lengths of time, you can do a different variety of passes or kicks, and it really opened up the game for me. Little short passes or long cutout passes, and you could be a little bit more creative with the gameplay. And goal kicking was always fun. I like some full motion video in 90s games as well. It's kind of a nice touch. NBA Live 95. This was the first NBA game where I felt like you actually had full control over what you were doing. The early games like Bulls vs Blazers, that sort of stuff that built towards this were a bit stiff, whereas this one you had a lot more free range of what you could do. And the PC version is really cool because it's got a lot more sound, a lot more detail in the game. You can see like the court markings and the crowd. You know, you can do alley-oops and some really cool dunks. Now we're on to retro consoles. So we'll start with my favorite retro console, which is the Nintendo. This game, Gunsmoke, it doesn't get a lot of love or attention, but for me, I used to play at my cousin's house and I was never really good at it, but as I got older I played it more and more, and then I was able to finish the game, and it's just probably one of those games that's really satisfying for me to play now. So you're shooting up as many bad guys as you can. Each stage has a boss. There's townspeople where you can buy guns. It's basically just like a spaceship shooter game but in a cowboy skin, but it's just, you know, those sort of games where you just play to relax. It's one of those games for me. It looks intense, but because I've played it so many times, it makes it easy. DuckTales is a classic Capcom game. I'm probably one of the best. A lot of these games aren't necessarily my favorite games, but they're they're games I'm playing right now, so that's why I wanted to make this video, what I'm playing right now. DuckTales, you're Scrooge McDuck and you're playing to get your money back. Every stage has its own boss and its own little quirk. It's really cool. You can play on the moon, you can play in Transylvania. Punch-Out is another one I played when I was really young and I just loved, and I have still loved it. I still fire it up heaps. I've beaten Mike Tyson twice by knockout, but that took so long to learn how to do. So I can knock him down, but beating him, I had to really practice. And those 2 times, I'll take those because it's never going to happen again. But if you can find some little quirks or tricks, then it's doable. Mega Man's probably in my top 5 as well. Actually, DuckTales, Mega Man, and Punch-Out probably up there. Mega Man's number 1. A lot of people say number 2's the best, but I just like number 1 because I can play through it easily and I can finish it. It's just so cool how you have to fight against the bosses, and then you take over their powers, and then you can use their powers on the next stage, you know, and on other bosses to make the game, I wouldn't say easier, but it makes the boss fights easier, I guess, when you know which power works on which boss. This game gets a lot of hate, but I think it's awesome. It's got an overworld map, that you can play on. It's interactive. You can switch your turtles. Being a Ninja Turtles kid, it didn't matter what it was turtles. It was always going to be awesome. I've finished this one a couple of times too. And people say, what are all these characters? It's based on the comic book, not necessarily based on the cartoon. That's why we're seeing these sort of alien creatures from Dimension X. Yes, driving the turtle van is so cool. Doesn't happen a lot in the game, but when you do that in that stage, it's fun. My brother and I played Double Dragon 2 heaps. So he actually bought this for me, or rebought it for me because I couldn't find it. These cyclone kicks are really satisfying to pull off. I haven't finished this one because those knees are really cool. Because it gets to this stage where you do these jump scenes, and they're just so tough. Because the jumping mech in the game, there's no jump button. You have to press A and B together, and then his jump isn't super responsive. Sega Mega Drive, I never had as a kid, but my cousins did, so we played a lot of sports games at their house. Micro Machines is a really cool game. You have to pick a guy, and then you keep racing different characters and knocking them out of tournaments. And it's very varied. You race speedboats, or you race monster trucks, or tanks that can shoot, or helicopters, and you're racing on breakfast tables, or your dad's workbench, or a mechanic's desk. All different things that you fly the helicopters through a garden. All different things that will create different obstacles for the game. Really cool racing game. Check that one out, Micro Machines. And I loved Joe Montana Sports Talk Football. I probably should have put the commentator in there because this is one of the first games with speech that I ever played. And he actually commentates. He says, it's 1st and 10, and he pulls back to throw. He doesn't speak a lot, but just enough to make it really cool. I played this a lot at my cousin's house as well. So with the Mega Drive, I never owned one, but I bought one later on. And it's great because I realized it's not just sports games that are awesome on the Mega Drive. There's lots of other ones that I'll show you in a sec. I like how it does close-ups here too. So you start the line of scrimmage here, and then once you snap the ball, once the ball goes into a receiver or a rusher's hands, then it zooms in. See, like that. And I threw a pick. Doesn't matter, them's the breaks. So yeah, that one's really cool. Now this is the game I was talking about. So I didn't have a Mega Drive. My cousins mainly played sports games, or games like Sonic, stuff like that. This is probably one of my favorite retro games, and I'm so glad I stumbled across it. It's fast-paced. It's got parallax scrolling. The music's awesome. So you collect these little canisters from that floaty thing, and that gives you those side weapons. And then you pick up other weapons, which gives you that, see that middle weapon I'm firing? And you can do bombs. There's a force field one. There's this green laser one I've got there. It's so cool. I finished it just purely because I loved the game so much. I just had to finish it. And Musha, it's called. It goes for a lot of money if you actually have the cartridge, so I had to emulate that one. This is the first present my boys bought for me for Father's Day on their own. So my mum took them to a gaming shop, and I said, pick me a retro game, and they picked this, and I thought it was pretty funny. And it's actually so fun. I never didn't play it back in the day, but it's really fun to play with them, and they don't play along, but I do. And it's just one of those games you can just play and relax to. Disney games in the 90s were really cool. I love the Dick Tracy movie that came out in the 90s. Check that out. It's got Warren Beatty as Dick Tracy, and the characters are all over the top, comic-y. This one's a good shooter because as you can see, you have to shoot in the foreground there, but also you've got this sort of, you can shoot your Tommy gun in the background to get all those other guys. There's car chases and there's different scenes. It's not super varied because they sort of reuse the same sprites a bit, but it's awesome. It's good fun. Sonic 2 is my favorite Sonic game out of all of them. Probably just because they took Sonic 1 and then I think they perfected it with Sonic 2. I know there's Knuckles and all those other ones, but for me, Sonic 2 is the best one. There's a Mega CD version, Sega CD version as well. Not too bad, but if I'm going to play Sonic, this is the one I'm going to play. Super Real Basketball is so cool. It's like an arcade basketball game. It's really fast-paced. See, these cutscenes are actually interactive, so you have to move the ball, or you have to stop the ball at the right spot to try and pull off the dunks. The threes are a bit of a lottery, but as you can see, like when I go to dunk here, you've got to stop it in that red zone. And also, as a defender, if you stop in the red zone, you'll sort of block their shot. It's really, I like how the ball's oversized. I just love everything about it. It feels like you're playing an arcade basketball game. It's called Pat Riley Basketball in the US. Aladdin's a really cool Disney game. There's heaps of cool Disney games that came out. You wouldn't have thought so, games based on movies, but in the 90s there was Aladdin, there was Jungle Book, there's a Lion King game I like to play on Super Nintendo, because the controls are really tight, the music's great, it's a story and characters you already know, so that sort of stuff. It's fun to play. It's short, and the Super Nintendo version's different, but the Mega Drive's the one to play. Atari, as I said before, is my first console, and Ghostbusters is the first ever video game I remember playing that wasn't Pong. So we used to have this old Pong sort of machine that I've got in my cabinet, you may have seen. But Ghostbusters, when people say, what's the first video game you remember playing? Ghostbusters is the one I remember. And, just driving that car. So you've got to set your traps to try and catch Slimer. So I've missed him, so then he's slimy. But if you start learning how to do it right, it gets really addictive. And the more ghosts you catch, the more that happens in the game. So for an Atari game, it's pretty layered. Later on, the Mushroom Man Stay Puft Marshmallow Man comes. Hero is a game I didn't play when I was younger, but if I'm going to play an Atari game, it's probably the one I'll spend the most time on. It's pretty addictive. For a game that's only got one button, the Atari, Hero is pretty good because you can use your joystick to sort of float around. It is what it is. It's an Atari game, so it's not going to be any more than what you're seeing. Whereas, it's the same concept, but just over and over again, but they just make it more challenging as you go. But for some reason, it flows really well. It's fun to play. I love the box art too. And it's one-hit deaths. A lot of these games, one-hit deaths. River Raid, this one's I've owned forever. And if you're going to tell someone, hey, I want to play an Atari game, what's a good one? River Raid's a good one to tell them. Hero or River Raid. I like Pitfall, but it's a little bit overrated. It can get a bit boring. River Raid's fun. And sometimes if you're lucky, you've got a 4-game cartridge, so a 4-in-1 cartridge. So this one actually has Pitfall on it. It's cool. I'd probably pick River Raid or Hero, but Pitfall's cool because you're swing on ropes and you've got to jump over these crocodiles and you've got to do all your time jumps. So pretty great game, pretty classic. Super Nintendo was probably the console I spent the most time on. Lion King's an awesome game. Because you play as young Simba, but then as the game goes on, you get older and you can do more things. Like when you're young, you can't do much. As you're older, you're able to fight and swipe at enemies. There's some really cool stages like the Just Can't Wait to Be King, where you're swinging on monkeys. Great game, really hard though. Donkey Kong Country is the most hyped game I've ever witnessed. So when Donkey Kong Country was being advertised, Super Nintendo really took off, and it's just one of my favorite games. I had the cartridge, I finished it. It's not a hard game. It's challenging, but I would say it's only about a 2 out of 5 in terms of difficulty. But fun-wise, I'd give it a 5. You ride on all these different animals. There's water stages, there's rope climbing stages, swinging stages. Check it out. Super Mario Kart, this is the original one. This is where Mario Kart all started. Now we're playing Mario Kart 8 and it's just amazing. This one though is where I first started playing Mario Kart. One of the first Super Nintendo games I played. It's just cool that they had drifting like that. See that? I didn't know about drifting until a bit later on playing this game, but once I learned how to drift, it really helps you. It really helps you advance in the game. See, I've stopped there because I wanted to shoot someone. So yeah, you can pick up stars, red shells, green shells. There's not a lot of items. See, there's the drifting again. And if you drift too much, you spin out. See, like that. So there wasn't a lot of items. There was lightning, there was a banana, but not as many as in Mario Kart 8. Great game though. Super Mario All-Stars. It came with our Super Nintendo when we got it. It was a pack-in game, and it was great because a lot of these games I didn't play on Nintendo as much, but the way they did them up to make them look like as good as Super Mario World with the music and the sound and everything just made them so replayable. I think Super Mario 3 is probably still one of the best all-time video games you can play. I still play it heaps. Oh, I love that you could fly too. That was really cool when we first saw that. It was featured in the movie The Wizard, and that's pretty much what showed us how to get to the warp zone. NHL 94 is my favourite retro sports game. Living in Australia in the 90s, we didn't know much about ice hockey, but then Disney brought out a movie called The Mighty Ducks, and that sort of got me into the sport. I used to hire this game pretty much every weekend from the video store, and then I just thought, I'll just buy it. And I played it and played it forever. It's just so cool. Even if you're not into ice hockey, it's great. It's got big hits, and you can score off one-timers as well. And I even like how you can be a jerk after you score and check the other team. You can see why people still play it and have tournaments today. See how cool that is? You can get checked into the stands. It's only 2 buttons, but that doesn't limit the game. There's heaps you can do with it. I love Contra on the Nintendo original, and I've actually completed it, which is a proud moment. Contra 3 is pretty cool. It's hard though, and it's one-hit death, but if you play the Australian or European version, it's not one-hit death, so I'd recommend that version. Sega Master System too. I didn't own, I bought it later on, but I remember playing Alex Kidd at my cousin's house. I love how they call it the vacuum cleaner. It actually does look like a vacuum cleaner. Alex Kidd's got a lot. It's just cool. Some people like it, some people hate it. I quite like it how you can, it's got punching, you can shoot weapons, it's got a swimming level, you can jump on a bike or that go-go pedal copter you can use. At the end of stages you have to play scissors, paper, rock. I don't know, it's just got a lot of little quirks, and I like the colours, and it's just one I've always liked. So that's why I pretty much bought a Master System just so I could play Alex Kidd too. I like playing games on original hardware as much as I can. So I do emulate, and I've got my mini consoles, but I just like original hardware. Basketball Nightmare is not a great game, but I just like the cutscenes here. I just think for an 80s video game to have cutscenes like that, it's pretty cool. My cousin gave me his Amiga because he's really into like Apple computers and stuff like that. He had a whole garage full, and I told him I loved Amiga. He's like, oh, well, follow me. And he was so generous. And I've always loved this rugby game because I used to play it at my uncle's house. And I just love the Amiga games, just the big boxes they came in and the artwork and all that sort of stuff. This isn't the best rugby game, but again, it's got nostalgic value for me. It's not one I'd play over and over again because it gets a bit frustrating because every time you get tackled, you go straight into a ruck. But I really liked it because of the goal kicking. I'm really bad at it, and you'll see in a sec how like it's got this sort of little dot thing, and it's actually harder than it looks, and actually quite shocking. I think I can only kick them from in front, or I fluke them from the corner every now and then. But yeah, Amiga games are great. It was kind of like a Super Nintendo standard machine, or even maybe a touch better, but before Super Nintendo. So this Batman game's really cool too. So you have to actually put the disc in and then turn your computer on to get it going. It took me a while to work that out. Amiga's quite quirky like that in the way you had to load up your games. And also, you'd load a game and then it'd say enter disc 2. Okay, now enter disc 3. So changing discs was a little bit tiresome, but back then you didn't know any different. This Batman game's cool. You get to drive the Batmobile around, and yeah, check it out if you can find it. Not a bad game at all. Finally, we're up to our Anbernic RG353VS. I'll take you through how to use it and hook it up to a TV. So there's heaps of these types of handhelds on the market that play and emulate a whole stack of different consoles. This one though is well built, the buttons are well positioned, even the L1 and L2, R1, R2 on the back. People complain about the positioning, but I think it's great. I like how the speaker's down low, because then you're not covering it up with your hands when you're playing. It fits my hands great, fits in your pocket, nice size screen, and it's really bright, and the buttons are very responsive. There's no lag at all, which is really important. So if you're gonna get one of these, I would go around this range. I wouldn't go much cheaper. It plays Dreamcast and 64 even. This is a mini HDMI cable, and then I've got a HDMI cable plugged into the TV. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with my little handheld turned off. Then I plug it in, then you turn it on. Then you can see it brings up onto the TV exactly what it would. You can play the games using the handheld as a controller there, or you can use Bluetooth controllers as well. So that way you can have multiple people playing, or you don't have to be tethered to a TV. Either way, it's very smooth. It also comes with little SD cards, so you can pop them out the side, put them in a reader in your computer, and then you can add your own ROMs. Like some of the games it came with I didn't really like on the Dreamcast, so I deleted them and then put my own on. So look how smooth Crazy Taxi is. It plays just as well as it does on a Dreamcast console. Sounds great too. And here's Star Fox. I love Star Fox. We call it Lilac Wars in Australia, and I don't know why we wouldn't have just called it Star Fox 64. But again, very responsive. Everything I'm doing is happening on the moment. No button lag. And sounds great, visuals are great. I've never had a problem with it, so I'd highly recommend. I'd love to hear about some of your favorite games or consoles, so feel free to drop them into the comments and I'll try to get back to you. Don't forget to like or subscribe to my channel because it helps keep me going. Thanks for sticking around and hope to see you next time.